88.7 KAZI, we're back at the Juice and Jam Show with our special guest, Mr. D. Alvin Young, author of Break Up, Don't Break Down. And we got some special guests in the studio sitting on the side. You ladies, introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. I'm Dee.
Hello, this is Willie.
And I know that it's been a lot of conversation off the air, and y'all was having some great conversation out in the hallway. So we invited you to the show and talk about. We just played a song about 11 Years Wrong, Don't Want to Be Right by Rhonda Clark. That was a remake from the 1991 version of her version. So Doc, what you got to say?
Well, anytime you steal something that doesn't belong to you, though you may enjoy it for a moment, you're going to definitely reap what you sow. And with that stated, we have to realize that being alone, being lonely, and loneliness are three different things, So if you want that to end, the first thing you have to do is learn to love you for who you really are. Because if you can't stand to be alone with you, why in the hell would somebody else want to be?
Well, I heard the person in the middle getting all the loving.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you like this. There's a tension that's negative and positive.
Okay.
And if you nurse yourself off of candy and apple pie and chips and yoo-hoos and what have you, it may taste good, but is it good for you? So most things that we feel that give us satisfaction or, feel that id or that carnal lust that we have for validation, it doesn't give us facilitation, and it sure the heck isn't going to be good for procreation.
Right.
I like that. I mean, you're pretty much saying a lot of good stuff. That's I think that's why, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff going on because a lot of people are lonely because they're afraid to be alone. And so sometimes they'll remain in something that's toxic, even though they know they should get out. However, they're just afraid to make that move.
Well, that's true. There's this old saying that says, as long as you keep your mouth shut, nobody will know how stupid you really are. And we talk ourselves into a mess. More than often, the things that we say did not need to be said. And we have to ask ourselves, why did I say what I just said? Why did I do what I just did? This moment that we get, this blissful peace, this pleasure, what's it worth later?
Right, your self-respect.
Yeah, you gotta, there's this thing I like to do at night, Steve. It's called sleep.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't do that when you're stressed out and wondering. I mean, think about this. How can you enjoy being out on a date, and every time someone comes through the door of that restaurant or that club, you're looking in the reflection in the mirror out the corner of your eye, hoping that that's not the person that you're betraying, walking in to bust you? Or when you get with this person, let's say you never get caught. Let's say that you got your Mac on. You're Billy Paul. You and Mrs. Jones got a thing going on. But what takes place is karma is a mug. You will reap what you sow, and what you put out there is going to come back to you.
And that's a biblical principle.
Yeah. God's not a man that he should lie, and karma's not nothing to play with. I said earlier, love is the only game two people can play, and both of them lose.
Coming from that biblical perspective, knowing even when you know what's right, and you do it anyway, trouble.
Well, we get calls. Last week, the sister called, or not last week, a couple of weeks ago, I was blessed to be here doing the show with Steve. And the sister calls in and she says that she's been with this guy for like 10 years. And this is a woman that is 50 years old. And she's in this abusive relationship. And I said, well, what you're doing is you're setting a bad example, not only for yourself, but she's taking care of her she made the statement, well, I'm taking care of my children's kids. So now you've got dysfunction where your kids aren't even raising their kids. It's a difference when you're babysitting the kids because mama's at work. I ain't knocking that. We all need some help. And I'm half Hispanic and I'm Creole. So, we definitely are some family-oriented folks. However, you need to take care of your own kids. That was one set of dysfunction. Then the next one is mediocrity is the worst of the best and the best of the worst. So now you're teaching them not only to settle for that which isn't good, but not to aspire for that which is great. And then in addition to this, you're saying they don't know, so now you're putting blinders on yourself, lying to yourself, because what you do when your kids aren't looking has a worse effect than what happens when you're not there, because more than likely they're not around you as much as they are around you. And because of your collateral damage, you know, we look at, and here's an example of what I mean by collateral damage. You smoke cigarettes. The nicotine makes that dopamine and acetylcholine in the brain, that norepinephrine kick in. But what happens is you don't look at the effects it has on your lungs. So just because something satisfies you, and I'm not knocking, everybody got a vice, you know. Well, I don't care if it's eating, drinking, smoking, but I'm just using that as an example. Anytime you continue to do anything that's not good for you over and over, the collateral damage is hell.
I'll just put myself out there without saying everything.
Do it, girl.
Look at the encouragement. Having gone through various relationships and knowing before I even started that it was wrong, it's like, when do you get the lesson?
Well, hopefully you get the lesson before the lesson gets you. There are things that we know we should not do.
That's right.
You don't have to tell a child to lie. They figure it out on their own. You don't have to tell someone to feel guilt, and all of us get it. And just, I want you to play like you just got out the shower, and your back is still wet, and you feel this, you know, that little blow, that little thing that in your stomach that lets you know what? I know dang well that I should not be where I am, doing what I am, with who I am, doing this with.
So there's always a way of an escape.
Yeah, there's that first thing that, you know, that first thing that tells you this isn't good for you. It's kind of like eating something that's not good. You know, all things that aren't good for you, the minute you taste it, what's it like, Steve? It tastes sweet or bitter?
It's good. It's good.
Well, it's one of two things. It's either too good,
it's good,
or it's repulsive.
Yes.
You know, things that stink, do you want to eat them?
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? Things that don't look or smell good, do you want to engage it?
You better not.
So that's the same way we need to look at relationships. And to get a good relationship, I'm going to give you guys some demographics, you know.
All right.
Time, get the pen and paper again.
All right.
Write down exactly what it is that you know someone is going to have to put up with about you. Write down these things about yourself.
How many?
I'm going to say start with 5. Write down with 5 things about you that you know that you more than likely aren't going to change, that you know more than likely will have an adverse effect on your life. You know, the things that have been robbing you that you want someone to help you trade in, because in order to get something, you're going to have to give something. So to get something good, you're probably going to have to give something up. The next thing is examine that which you really need to have in your life that you cannot live without from someone, meaning that if you're an only, I'll give an example. I had a brother in here earlier today, Anthony, he's a comedian here, and Anthony was telling about some things he has going on with his family, and he said, you know, I had to just get to a point where I couldn't hurt myself anymore to try to love someone else. And it didn't mean that Anthony said he was going to stop loving these people, but there's a time when you have to love yourself more than someone loves themselves.